You're watching the Kop TV, the voice of football's most famous stand.
Salah to settle it in front of the Kop.
Yes, good afternoon, Reds. Welcome back to the Kop TV, the voice of football's most famous stand. We'll be talking about football's longest stand to complete very shortly as Liverpool go away to Fulham in the second leg of the League Cup semi-final. Liverpool 2-1 up from the first leg. Before we get into this preview with my guy, Jack Collins, his fourth appearance on the Kop TV this season. I know you guys loved him after the last three, so he's back again. Do us a favor and smash that like button, comment with your lineup predictions, your score predictions, and then once those courtesies are out the way, if you haven't done that already, go and subscribe to the channel and also go over and check out Jack Collins' stuff as well, top guy. Mate, it was great to have you in Liverpool a couple of weeks ago.
It's great to be there, man.
Dispensary, which is a top pub. Do you know what? It's funny we talk about that because one of my mates for my birthday, where is it? I met him in the dispensary for a drink beforehand, and he bought me. Where is it? Bloody gone. So it's always when you need it. He basically bought me the Cork City Guinness.
Oh, I've got the same one, so we can go. We can be matching. I have the same, the white with the red and green. I've seen this on your story.
Yeah,
I do.
Saw it on the story.
I did see this in the. Yeah, I've got the same one. So the next time we're up, we can wear them together.
Here we go. Look at that.
There you go. Fantastic stuff.
It's an absolute beauty.
It is a corker. It's an absolute corker.
If you'll pardon the pun. No, it's not laundry, Tim. It's just a couple of stray.
It's his birthday presents, Tim.
Yeah, it's all my presents. They're kind of just stacked up. But listen, man, it was great to have you in Liverpool. Obviously, Fulham went 1-0 up. A really kind of dry first half from Liverpool, but all we needed was kind of 5 minutes to turn the tie on its head. You said after the game that you're still in the tie. Obviously, you've played since. Are you still in the tie? And how confident are you that maybe you can turn it right now?
We're definitely still in the tie. I think it would be mad to suggest that at one goal down coming back into a home game that we're not in it. I think we're still outsiders, underdogs to go through here because you look at the record and you look at Liverpool's recent record against Fulham, and even though there have been some good games and some good back and forth between the two sides, there haven't been many where Fulham have come out on top, even if we've had games where we've outplayed you. And I think that maybe the 2-2 at the start of last season was probably our best chance of getting that win. It didn't come. And that's kind of where we're at. Now, if you compare the last two results, we were very flat against Chelsea, obviously a week ago now, and there's been that time to kind of reset and get everyone to go again, as opposed to you getting that week off to begin with and then going and thumping Bournemouth at the weekend. And it really was a spectacular second half. You were absolutely incredible. And that little tactical tweak I thought was interesting because in the first leg, we saw Darwin's influence off the left be actually the thing that turned this game against Fulham on its head. And then his switch to the middle on Sunday was the thing that changed that game. So the versatility and the fluidity of this attacking lineup scares me, obviously. But I think that when you look at this game, Fulham will hopefully be refreshed after the break. We looked so leggy against Chelsea. And hopefully this starts to, is something where we can get out and get going quickly in order to make this a proper contest.
Yeah, I actually think you should have come away with something against Chelsea. I thought you were knocking on the door so many times. They were.
That wasn't because they were good. It was just both teams were incredibly bad.
Chances, but you just couldn't finish your dinner. But I was watching that game almost hoping for a Fulham result. But as you said, Darwin, his impact in the first game from the bench, by the way, he didn't even start that game, but I think it was 2 assists when he came on in the first 10 minutes of being on the pitch. And then obviously he's actually finally put the ball in the back of the net at the weekend. So from a Liverpool point of view, man, like super confident, if I'm honest. Bournemouth were the form team in the Premier League, 7 wins in the last 10, I think. So for us to go there with a very weak side, no Trent, no Szoboszlai, no Salah, we can name more, to actually go there and win, not only just win, but to win convincingly, is brilliant to see. You mentioned the second half against Bournemouth. Obviously, the first half, again, pretty similar to the Fulham game, dry and not many chances for Liverpool. What is it about us Liverpool, that is, we kind of have this second half mentality. I mean, I'd like us to almost go into games and play like that at the start of the game, but why do we almost save the best till the second half, do you think?
I don't know. They always say, and they usually say this about first legs, but it probably rings true for first halves as well. You can never win a tie in the first half, but you can lose it. So
Yeah.
if you have that ability to go out and turn it up after the break, it kind of almost allows you to have different bits. And I think that's important. It allows you to kind of end games as strongly as possible. And we know that teams tire. We know that teams haven't got the facility, especially in a busy period where there's a lot of games back to back to back to back, to
Yeah.
actually run games through to the end. And actually, what we've seen from this Liverpool side is that ability to drive forwards towards the end of games and really put teams under the cosh. And it means you're incredibly difficult to hold back as a force. So there is that. I suppose the flip side of it is that, does it give me confidence that Fulham can get the first goal in this tie and actually make it a proper contest?
Yeah.
Maybe there's that to assume.
I'd agree. I think if Fulham start this one super strong and go for it, it's going to force us back into the corner, and we're going to have to do what we've done many times this season, which is come from behind and finish off the tie. So, yeah, there's a big opportunity, I think, for Fulham to actually maybe almost wake us up in a way. And if Fulham do score first, then Liverpool are very, comfortable with having to come from behind, because it's just what we've done this season. So, I mean, going away to Fulham, as you know, I've been there a few times. Really have enjoyed it. Haven't enjoyed it a couple of times, but talk to us about the stand. I saw a Fulhamish tweet, basically calling out the club for charging up to £3,000 for a season ticket, and is that the Riverside stand isn't actually finished, even though the work started 5 years ago? Is that right?
I think Everton are going to have an entire stadium built before we've built a stand, which is,
Wow.
is impressive considering they've had their own problems. I think it took less time to redevelop Wembley than to build the stand at Fulham. Now, there are slight, obviously, issues and caveats to that, in that it started in a COVID period. The people who did the stand, as you well know, because they did yours as well, went bust in the middle of it. It's been a long process and a long period, but it's not good enough. It is the simple fact of the matter. And it's one thing being like, okay, we can't get it in because of safety concerns. People at either end of the stand. There's a walkway that needs to be developed, etc., etc. Fine. But you can't then charge people that amount of money. Now, I'm personally of the opinion that if you charge the premium seats loads of money and you basically use that to offset the cost for everybody else behind the goals, etc., I'm mostly okay with that. If you want to go and spend that kind of money to watch football, that's kind of on you. But it hasn't really. And also, if you are going to spend that kind of money on football, you expect to be given some sort of service. The under of the stand is all plasterboard still. It's all wood chip. It's just not the experience you're expecting. So look, I think it's a chaotic kind of period, and I just think it's just kind of further evidence that the club behind the scenes is probably a little bit off the mark right now, and off the mark in terms of understanding what the fan base wants.
Yeah, and I guess you just want it to be over. You want it to be finished so you can enjoy it, right?
You
And I
want an
think,
atmosphere, right? And you know that better than anyone, that what an atmosphere can do. Look, and I'm not going to sit here and say to you that Fulham have the best atmosphere in the world, because we don't. But when you do get those special nights, and you get those nights like the Europa League night where the cottage was bouncing, and that Juventus game where the whole thing felt like it was on top of it, and it was a run that was fueled by, a fan base who really did believe in that team, it's very difficult to get that going when half of one of the stands is completely missing. And that's going to maybe sound like an excuse. I don't think that's the case. I think we're talking about, you want full houses for these. You want these special occasions. This is Fulham's first ever League Cup semi-final, and our first domestic semi-final for 20 odd years. You want it to be a full house and in full voice, and both sets of fans giving it. Those are what make those occasions special. I think it's just a real shame.
Listen, for your sake, I hope that gets sorted sooner rather than later. But if you are traveling down to Craven Cottage tomorrow night, obviously be safe with the storm and whatnot. But yeah, obviously, if you are there, Liverpool fans, let us know how you feel about that stand, which is, as Jack mentioned, the same company that started R1 and then couldn't finish it. So I don't know. Maybe they need to have a bit of a
A
VAR
long,
check
hard
on them
look
as
at
well.
themselves.
A long, hard, a good sit down and look at yourself in the mirror. What
Clip
have you
around the
done, you
ear.
idiot? Honestly, go and get your shovels back out and finish the job. Let's jump into the chat. Ali A reminding us that Robbo is back. He will travel for this game. Big up at AGT and Jack. There you go. Thomas saying he met you
Shouts out
outside the
Thomas.
stadium. Yeah, big up to him, man. All the way from Copenhagen. Shout out to Tom. Shout out to Ed. Why am I late, AGT? Listen, it's free content. Just shut up and press the like button, mate. Big up, Alex. Thank you very much. Darwin is class, says Tom. And look at this one. ACDC letting us know that Paul Tierney has been chosen by the corrupt cheats PGMOL for the Chelsea game next Wednesday. There you go. I can't see this one happening, Ali. Klopp famously said around the time of when the City one came out that if the club allowed access into the changing rooms like the rest of the teams, he would walk away. He doesn't want that kind of intimate kind of curtain of privacy to be disrupted.
I understand that as well, especially for someone like Klopp who has that sense of camaraderie with his players.
Yes.
And like there feels like that real bond. And there's a difference. And that's not to say that other managers don't have that or that Pep Guardiola doesn't have that with his players. But I think the relationship is slightly different there in terms of it just feels slightly more on a professional level. Whereas I think Klopp gets players, the best out of players in a slightly more personal sense. And that might be something you just don't want to rip the curtain back on.
Yeah. No, I'd totally agree. And if there is a kind of track back on that and we do it, then I'd like to see how Klopp actually reacts. Shout out to Buddha. Big up to Carmino as well. What I wanted to touch on now was the injury news kind of from both sides. I mean, I woke up today, I went to the gym this morning, I came out, I just flooded with good news on injuries. I could not believe it. Obviously, as we know, Pep Linders takes the League Cup press conferences. That's kind of down to him to do. And he's actually given us the biggest boost you could imagine, right? So on Curtis Jones, as we know, he came off after a supposed hamstring injury. He'll be available. It's a big advantage to have him. We were waiting for a long time. He's one of our captains. You know, a lot of trust is instilled into Curtis Jones. He actually says about Robertson as well. I just met him in the canteen and he said, Pep, I have my tracksuit with me. So he's pushing himself into the squad. He will travel. So again, how long have we been without Robertson now? A long time. Also, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Dominic Szoboszlai, and Kostas Tsimikas are all due to be back for the Norwich game, believe it or not, on Sunday. Then he did also go on to say that Trent is progressing well through his rehab, working hard, how he is as a guy, knowing how important the next weeks are. But he will be back at the end of the week for the team training, so hopefully he'll be at the FA Cup. Szoboszlai says he's ready, but tomorrow comes too early for him, so he will be ready for the weekend again. And then, as we know, Kostas Tsimikas is probably 2 more weeks away, which again is a super tight turnaround time for him after what happened with his shoulder. Both left backs suffering shoulder injuries this season. And after having 10 or more players out for the last 3 games, Liverpool's lengthy injury list does look finally to be easing and should look even better in a week's time. So there you go. I mean, obviously Robertson will travel, but look at Joe Gomez. I mean, I heard people absolutely, up in arms when we found out that Joe Gomez would have to be left back. Now I'm hearing people up in arms again about Robertson coming in to just automatically replace him. That's how quick it goes in football. But looking at that team, Jack, I mean, there will still be some top players out, the Endos, the Salahs, who again is probably going to be out for around a month now. Great news for Liverpool, all of this.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible news for the Reds to have all these players back, right? These are important things. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference tomorrow night. If I'm honest, I actually think that this is something that looks, more like a going forward thing for Liverpool than necessarily what the effect it has. The Curtis Jones thing, I think, is huge. I think that's a fair point, well made. I can't imagine he's going to throw Robertson in straight away for 90 minutes. Like it doesn't really make any sense. So I'd imagine we're going to be looking at a very similar team. I saw Thomas post earlier up saying that he was hearing that Kelleher, Kwanzaa and Conor Bradley will start tomorrow. I think whatever the squad looked like, it would probably have those players in it. They've earned their shot. Bradley was brilliant again at the weekend. Obviously, first ever league start. He was excellent against us in the first leg. We saw Kelleher, okay, fine, not great, but he's played pretty much all the cup games in terms of what we've seen. He was fine against us. Yeah, the goal's a little bit sloppy, but generally, apart from that, I thought he was fine. And Kwanzaa, that little bit of rotation that allows him to come back in as well is what you need ahead of these games. And actually, what it means is when these players step up and step into these zones, I think they're the things that make a difference. So these players here are, ones that we've seen make that breakthrough either this season or the season before. And then suddenly we're like, okay, cool. We're now trusting them to actually go and get the job done. And you can say what you like about some of Kelleher's performances this season. That's fine. But equally, he was the man in the penalty shootout, the other year. And he's the man that stepped into those big occasions. So I think this is a cool kind of moment in terms of for Liverpool's season outside of this competition. I think you're absolutely right in terms of what this means. But in terms of tomorrow, I can't see it making all that much of a difference.
I totally agree. I pretty much expect the team to be fairly similar to one that played at the weekend, probably. I mean, you could throw a Kwanzaa in, you could throw a Kelleher in. Obviously, Conor Bradley got his first Premier League start and assist and should have scored actually as well with his left foot on Sunday. So, yeah, I mean, listen, we've been absolutely hammered by injuries, but on the pitch, has it really affected us massively? I wouldn't say it has, which is obviously a mark of a top team.
It's
Fulham,
mark of depth as well, right?
Yeah, mate, the depth. And it's not just the depth, it's the players that have been in that depth that have actually stepped up to become irreplaceable, like a Joe Gomez, to be honest with you. So it's been a tough season, obviously, but we're riding our luck and we're putting teams away, especially in the second half. Talk to us about Fulham's angle for this game. Do you go strongest possible? And is there any injury updates for us as well?
Well, the only injury update is the one that continues to come back, is that Adama Traore is still out. The man is a myth at this point. I'm sorry, I don't believe he exists anymore. I feel like he's locked in a broom cupboard somewhere at Motspur Park and we're never going to see him again. It's one of those kind of moments where I think this is now the game in which Fulham's season hinges. And that might sound over dramatic, but I don't think we're going to get relegated, and I don't think we're going to get a European place. I don't think we're going to get past Newcastle in the fourth round of the FA Cup at the weekend, because fans generally are boycotting the game because of prices and the fact that they've put these two games close together, backed them up for TV, and then made them, expensive anyway. So basically, Fulham's season now literally lands on this. So This is where it all comes down to. This is what it all hinges on. And that's not to say that, if Fulham do get knocked out here by an extremely good Liverpool side, that everything is doom and gloom and that's that. It's just, I think that it's probably the key element for the rest of the season is just like, okay, cool. Now settle till the summer and go again. And I think that those are the trickiest bits in terms of what this looks like. I don't think there'll be any problems with Fulham being motivated here. I think it will be an absolutely buzzing crowd under the lights at the Cottage, and I think people are very excited about this generally. There's nerves, but there's a lot of excitement. And then when you kind of come back to it, I think it's first, best team forward. This is Fulham's strongest 11 off the bat, and hope against hell that it's enough to break down a very good Liverpool side. That's what it comes down to. But I think Harry Wilson probably comes back in on the right with a little bit of rest here. I think it's Willian and Raul. I think Andreas starts in the absence of Iwobi, who's still missing. The only question mark for me, I suppose, is if Tim Ream comes back in, just for a little bit of nous here with Calvin Bassey out at AFCON. That's the only change I can really see him making, unless Kenny Tete starts. He obviously played against Chelsea, but the changes from the first leg. Kenny Tete could start, just in the fact that obviously we've seen both Darwin and Jota have joy from that left-hand side in the last couple of games. Maybe it's just that one-on-one defender to try and shut those avenues down a little bit more.
Yeah, you mentioned Jota, who, I mean, it's ridiculous, his kind of goals per minute.
Outrageous.
81 minutes per goal in only 700 minutes odd of Premier League football this season. So, yeah, it's come at a good time, if I'm honest, man, because there was, question marks around, Gakpo's output. Nunez is obviously Salah going away, there was big question marks. Can Jota stay fit, first of all, but then obviously put the ball in the back of the net? Gakpo, this campaign in this competition, has scored in every round so far. So, he was the one with Darwin who came off the bench to really impact that first leg. So Liverpool's strikers, in the absence of Mo Salah, who is now injured and away, they were answering the questions, especially with that 4-0 win over Bournemouth. So, yeah, there's a lot to be positive about for Liverpool. And obviously, we've got another cup game like you at the weekend. We're home against Norwich. And then we go into a massive week next week, Chelsea on Wednesday at Anfield, and then the Emirates again for Liverpool. So this is the most crucial part of the season. We call it the business end. I mean, that when it gets to that end, you're looking at maybe a March, April. But for Liverpool, this is the crucial period in the middle of the season. And for Fulham, like you just said, man, I don't disagree with anything you've just said in terms of the whole season rests upon this game. And if you can get the atmosphere right, if you can start well, if you can finish your chances, Liverpool have got a lot to be worried about tomorrow night. And that's me being totally honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can cause anyone problems. And the thing about Fulham this year is it's been very hard to gauge whether we're actually very good or very bad. When you look at some of the performances that back up each other, I thought we were excellent for the most part at Anfield. You compare that to what we played like at the Bridge after that, where we were pretty dreadful.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, well, which Fulham is going to show up? But if it is, the Fulham that won back-to-back 5-0 home games earlier in the season, the Fulham that showed up against Arsenal on New Year's Eve, the Fulham that showed up at Anfield, I think we've got a puncher's chance against anybody. So I'd stick with the fact that I think the Fulham players will understand the magnitude of this task and what it means. I fancy that we give you at the very least a good go here.
Big up to Yuvraj, who says, big up AGT and Jack. Laugh Entertainment says, Klopp got the whole Liverpool squad on the same hunger and mentality from senior to academy players this season. I'd agree. It's true. Timothy says, ask Jack if he would like to do a camping out on Fulham pitch overnight. Unfortunately, can't see much stars in the sky.
Is it a date?
I'm sure. I mean, Tim lives in America, so I'm not too sure.
I'll camp on the cottage pitch anytime, man.
The bench won't be kids, says Alexander De Los. We could move Gomez to right back and play Robbo. I think that would be pushing it a little bit. You've got to stick your faith in Conor Bradley to start a right back, I do think. I'd rather we start Alisson to be safer. Kelleher can start against Norwich on Sunday. I'm not too against that. But Pep Linders in this competition almost picks the team. So I know he's a massive fan of Kelleher, as we all are, but I can see Kelleher playing this one just because he played the first leg. And Dicko, welcome to the Fulham fan. We have the same with Thiago, Jack.
No, that was the Adama Traore thing. Yeah, he's a myth too, Thiago. It's a shame. He wasn't a myth.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. I like Anthony Robinson. He's getting a lot of love, by the way, in the chat here. He looks like Trent's twin brother, says Alier. Yeah. I did see a picture of half of Trent's face and half of Anthony Robinson's, and it is uncanny, if I'm honest.
Yeah, there's the likeness. There's a likeness going on there.
Raul gives Van Dijk a hard time last game. Yeah, he did. Just couldn't finish the chances. Sam, up the Kop TV, love from Dublin, was on the way to the shop and I noticed a Fulham flag in a car. Not too many of them around Dublin.
They're all in the south, in proper Ireland. They're all in Limerick and Cork. I'm messing.
Jack Collins, top lad. Shout out to
Sam, man.
AGT, come to South Africa. I mean, yeah, I've been trying to see as many OLSCs around the world as I possibly can. So listen, if there's appetite for it in South Africa, we will be there. Thiago will be our secret weapon. How many seasons have we been saying this?
I was going to say, this has been going on for years. I think that might be a stretch.
It's a weapon.
You don't need secret weapons. You've got loads of weapons at Grand.
It's such a secret weapon that just no one knows where it is. Not many teams come to Anfield and score 3. One of the best teams so far to come here, as we know. Fulham 4 goals at Anfield this season, which is 4 more than Manchester United. It's 3 more than Arsenal. That's definitely a nice little trophy.
I'll have that one. That can go in the cabinet with the championship trophy. And the Intertoto Cup.
You can't forget that one. Have some respect to the Intertoto. In goal then, Kelleher. I'm going to go with Bradley. Ooh, this is a tough one. I'm going to go Kwanzaa and Big Verge. And left back will be Joe Gomez. In the middle, it gets interesting now because McAllister was excellent in the first half, especially. The passing between the lines, the regaining of possession. That was a real out-and-out number 6 performance. And, going up against a João Palhinha, it's difficult, man. The physicality, the height, the strength, the aggressiveness. So he'll have to match that. Again, from what we're hearing, it looks likely that maybe Curtis Jones is ready to start, not only be involved, but to start. And then Harvey, who had a quiet game against Fulham. I think he was taken off 55 minutes. He was pretty upset to be coming off. But, that's almost a cauldron of fire for him to jump into playing away at Fulham after he came from there. So I'll go with him. Again, you could play a Gravenberch. You could play...
if one of them swapped, I think it will be Elliot, but I think you're right. I think he starts.
I think they almost lean on the fact that he might get booed and he might get a bit of abuse. So that's my midfield. And then up front, Buenos Dias. I think it will be Luchito, even though on the right he wasn't too effective against Bournemouth, but we haven't got many options. So I go Luchito, Darwin and Jota up front. And then again, you've got Gakpo to come on off the bench. To make an impact as he did in the first leg. So that's my lineup prediction. A lot of score predictions already. Comfy 3-0 win for the Reds. I like your optimism, Jamie, but I'm not too sure about that. A 2-2 on the night, says T-Boys, which would take Liverpool through.
That's what my head says.
2-1 to us, 4-2 on aggregate. I've seen some 5-2s on aggregate in the chat here as well from Frank Carlisle. Let's find that. It's funny because both Philip and Frank have predicted the exact same, one comment after the other, a 5-2 win. Jack, give us your score prediction. What kind of night is this going to be for you? You're obviously going to be at the game, another big cup game. Is it away at Newcastle as well?
No, it's at home, which is why there's a lot of people not going, making a statement. It's an interesting one. My head says 2-2.
Okay.
My heart says we're going to pull off a Juventus here. You're going to score first and we're going to win 3-1. But, it is what it is. So I think it's tight either way. I think both teams have chances. I'm going to follow my heart and say Fulham go through. I have to.
Oh,
right? I have to.
Controversial. No, listen, you have to. It's your team. Jack's going for one of them magical Craven Cottage nights.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think Liverpool actually panic when they go 1-0 down, especially this season. But I think if you look at
that's what we're going to do. We're going to let you score first. It's going to really confuse you, and then
just bang, 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 3-1. But if you look at last season when we went behind, we went even more behind later on. You look at the Brentford away last year. You look at Wolves away. Some awful performances really, but new players, new mentality, or reinstilled mentality from maybe 4 years ago or 3 years ago. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Fulham scored first, which again makes it 2-2 on the night, everything to play for. Don't forget, a 2-1 score to Fulham takes this all the way to extra time and penalties. There's no further replays, there's no third legs. Pause.
No more pens, please. We've had enough pens in this competition. Thank you very much.
To be fair, we do love a penalty shootout. I can't lie. We always seem to do well, touchwood. But yeah, listen, it's going to be a great game to watch. We'll be in Jurgen's watching this one, guys. So if there are any Liverpool fans who aren't travelling, do come along to Jurgen's and we'll have a good crack in there. A Naz says Fulham coming from 1-0 down to win 3-1 against us. That's what we do. Identity theft is not a joke, Jack. Relax.
Yeah. Hey, we've done it too. Once upon a time, anyway. Back in 2010.
Yeah, I was at that game.
Yeah. It was 4-1 actually. 3-1. But I thought 4-1 was a bit of a stretch.
the Liverpool game.
Oh right, yeah.
October 2009, I think you might have scored first. We scored again, and then you ended up 3-1, was it?
Yeah.
We got two red cards. Kaiju says the Cottage is a tight ground and Fulham will be dangerous, so I'm saying 2-1 to Liverpool. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 to Liverpool again, and I think that kind of sends us, well, it does send us to the final. As the title says, we are one step, both teams are one step away from Wembley.
That's what it's all about, right?
But obviously we find out, well, whoever goes through to tomorrow night will find out tonight who they'll be playing against. Middlesbrough, Chelsea. Do you fully expect your southwest London neighbours to turn it around tonight and get through to the final?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was obviously great fun watching them lose 1-0 to Middlesbrough in the first leg, but equally, I think that felt like an off night for someone like Cole Palmer. And then when you kind of put it together, I still don't think Chelsea are very good, but I think that they probably send this one to extra time at the very least. And I think that would be, I mean, look, a Borough win would be glorious for everyone involved, but it is what it is. I think they'll get the job done at the cottage, at the bridge. Sorry.
Ant says Middlesbrough to win tonight. Borough tonight will win, says Allier. 2-0 to Chelsea, says Brett. But MKH, just to round us off, says we won't let our standards drop. 3-1 to Liverpool. And KG says, think the Chelsea game will go to penalties tonight.
I think that's a good shout.
All right, well, this has obviously been a live stream, but as soon as this video goes from live to unlive, don't forget you can still drop your lineup predictions, your score predictions in the comments below. You can subscribe still, you can like the video. But Jack, I've got to say, just on a personal one, thanks so much for coming on this channel 4 times. You know, in the last
it's been an absolute
months.
pleasure, man. We've got
I don't think
we've got one more. We've got one more.
We do have one more as well. Jesus,
five in a year.
Jesus,
yeah,
which is great. But thank you, man, for coming on. I know your time is precious, so I really appreciate it. And the comments love you as well, man. So it's great to have you on the channel.
It's always a pleasure. Been with you on everything, you know, Kop TV, DR Sports, whatever it is. It's always a pleasure.
Exactly, man. It is always a pleasure, and I appreciate and love you for that. But listen, man, we'll call it a day there. Massive game tomorrow night. As I said just now, it's 1 step away from Wembley, 2 steps away from another cup for Jurgen Klopp and the mighty tricky Reds. Again, as I said, leave your comments and your lineups in the chat down below, and again, we'll have the fan cams and the match day vlog from Jurgen's for you tomorrow night after the game, straight after the game, and we'll be looking forward to that. And then of course we play Norwich in another cup competition today. But until then, Jack, as always, my brother, thanks so much for coming on. To everyone that's watched, big up. Make sure you share this, like it, comment, and all that good stuff. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
Please, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Kop TV.
The voice of football.